Hi, everyone. My name is Sabrina Beer. I'm here in Chicago. I work for a title insurance agency called Proper Title, which is a little bit different than where a lot of everybody else is. Title insurance is definitely not something I walked into one day and was like, I want to do title insurance. But here I am after years and years in the real estate world. We started the Chicago chapter of Women in Real Estate, myself and Stephanie, who's here on the call, Stephanie Jeffrey, and then also Laura Perez, who's not here right now. We started the Chicago chapter. So we opened up this Amplify series. This is our last one, which Kelani gratefully is doing about getting started in commercial real estate. If you would like to see any of the videos from our past 4 other Zooms that we did, you can find them on joinwomeninrealestate.com under chapters and then Chicago. They will all be there. There's only 2 there right now, but the rest of them will be there by the end of the week. So be sure to check back and you'll be able to access all the videos. If you are not a member of W.I.R.E, we welcome you and thank you. You can reach out to myself, Stephanie, Kelani, Keisha. I mean, pretty much almost everyone on this call is a W.I.R.E member, I think. But if you're not, please be sure to reach out. And Kelani, before you start talking about commercial real estate, can you just say hello to everybody? And Brittany, your co-founder's on here as well, and talk just a couple of minutes about what Women in Real Estate is and how it got started and why we're all here.
Absolutely. I am trying to turn this notification off on my computer because I don't know what is dinging, but I'm going to find it. Give me 1 second. All right, here we go. Hi, guys. My name is Kelani Blackwell. I am the co-founder of Women in Real Estate. My other co-founder, Brittany, is on this call. Brittany, feel free to chime in if you would like. Women in Real Estate is our labor of love. So we got started in the pandemic on a social media platform called Clubhouse. If you guys are familiar with Clubhouse, then you probably know Women in Real Estate. It's ranked number 2 on the entire platform for top real estate club with over 65,000 members on that platform. The need for further connection was very apparent. Brittany and I were being asked consistently, how do we work together more? How do we talk more? Can we get on your calendar? Can you coach me? Can you mentor me? All this stuff. I'm like, you know what? No, let's figure out how to turn this into a real community. So we created Women in Real Estate, the company, and that offers a membership service on off of Clubhouse, right? So it's where we get together virtually on a regular basis, as well as in person through events, curated by our chapters like this one, and all kinds of other stuff. We've got a team through EXP, a team of realtors called the W.I.R.E Collective through EXP. We're working on launching our first fund, all kinds of really cool stuff. So it's too much to explain in these 2 minutes, but if you're interested in becoming a part of Women in Real Estate, you can visit our official website, which is joinwomeninrealestate.com, and see about all of the cool stuff we're doing. And happy to answer any questions about it.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So we've got quite a few people here. You ready for me to just get going? All right, let's talk about it. So this is actually really fun for me. I typically am highlighting other people. Brittany and I use the Women in Real Estate platform to highlight so many other people. And so when Sabrina asked me to speak, talking about commercial real estate, I was like, oh yeah, absolutely. We can do that too. So I'm excited for this. I was able to navigate in commercial real estate at a big box firm, which I'll explain all of these things. And a lot of people hear commercial real estate and it sounds really sexy. Well, I want you guys to understand what it truly is, how to get started in it, and picking a niche in that space. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Please let this be conversational. If you have any questions, feel free to come off mute, put them in the chat. I'll cover as much as I can. I tend to talk fast. If I'm talking too fast and you need to slow me down, please absolutely feel free to slow me down. Let me go ahead and share my screen real quick. Right here. Can you guys see my screen? All right. Hey guys, that's me. I'm Kelani. Let's get going. All right. First of all, my first question to you guys, and again, this is going to be conversational, but please tell me, what do you guys know commercial real estate to be? What is commercial real estate? This is not a trick question. Let's just get it out there, super high level. Tell me, what is commercial real estate?
Is it more than 5 doors?
Chrissy, that is correct. What were you saying, Keisha?
No, I was just gonna say multifamily industrial.
Multifamily, industrial, that is correct. Those are all components of commercial real estate. Yes, more than 5 units.
And
Multifamily,
it's zoned for just commercial zoning?
sort of, maybe. Any other guesses? I'm want to get even a little more broad than that. And the reason is because most people who don't understand commercial real estate or don't know anything about it, when you hear the term or the word real estate for the first time, what's the first thing we think of when you think about working in real estate? What do you do?
Buildings.
Building. You get a real estate license.
Residential. Oh, okay.
Sell houses.
A real estate agent
That
selling
would
you
be
a home.
helpful.
Yeah, exactly. Most people who don't know real estate very well, when you start thinking about, oh, let me work in real estate, the only experience you've had working with another real estate professional may or may not be a realtor that helped you find a house or helped your parents find a house, right? We oftentimes think of residential real estate, and you don't even know that. You don't even know that commercial exists. You don't even know that everything around you is real estate. Everything, right? So I'm going to ask, what is commercial real estate? It's a property intended to generate income. That's what commercial real estate is. More specifically, because residential real estate can also be intended to generate income, but more specifically, anything more than 5 units. People also, when you think about real estate and you hear it for the first time, you think about housing, right? You think about a house or apartments where people live, duplexes, fourplexes, quads, whatever. That is real estate. An apartment building is considered commercial real estate, but so is your favorite pizza shop that you went to growing up. So is your favorite store that you like to shop at, the grocery store or the Louis Vuitton store, that too, right? Whatever that is, that's commercial real estate. The airport that you visit, the actual like roads that you drive on, all of that is commercial real estate. What commercial real estate, why it's cool is because it actually shapes the communities, how we experience them, right? That's why commercial real estate is really, really cool. So from everything to the post office, to your doctor's office, to the stores you like to shop at, to the vacant land that you drive by every single day, all of this is real estate. And if you're not thinking like that, you just don't know it. How many times have you driven past, or you drive up, drop your kids off at school, and then you leave? You're not thinking that that's real estate. Or you go to church on Sunday, not really looking at that like real estate. It's all real estate. Those people that own those properties are looking to trade it to make money, invest, exit, trade, build, what have you. That's all real estate. So the first thing we're going to do today is broaden our minds and open ourselves up to understanding that commercial real estate is a very, very vast industry. So before I continue, I want to know today, for those of you who jumped onto this call today, what are you hoping to get out of this call today? Let me know, because I want to make sure I touch on a little bit of everything. Throw it in the chat for me. Considering how vast this industry is, what are you looking to learn today? Give you guys a second.
Should you hire somebody to help you, like an agent? Or is there other ways of finding those properties?
Okay, so you're approaching this like an investor. You want to invest in commercial real estate.
Right.
Okay, got it. We'll touch on that.
How to evaluate commercial real estate and how to approach buyers and or sellers regarding their properties.
Okay. We're not going to have enough time to talk about evaluations today, because we can get real in the weeds.
Okay.
We're going to touch high level on that, but you and I can get into that. I'll give you some nuggets today that we'll dig into. Yeah, further.
That's good.
Okay. How to acquire funding for 5+ units, practices to get started, team sources getting started. What is a good way of starting and getting into business? Literacy is my first time ever. Great. Okay, good. All right. We're keeping this conversation very, very high level. I want it to be palatable. So please, by all means, ask your questions as they come about. I'll try to make sure I answer all of these things. But some of these, for those of you who are a little more sophisticated, this might be really high level. Keep those questions. And at the end, I'll make sure that we make time to connect on whatever those specifics are. Okay. If we don't talk about them today. Let's get started. All right, this is what you need to know. Commercial real estate, I'm telling you, it's a lot more vast than any of you even know or may even realize if you're not experienced. On the left, we have property types, and on the right, we have industries. There are 2 ways to approach working in commercial real estate, and they are divided by this line here, okay? First things first, again, everything is real estate. So these are your main property types. There are even some smaller ones that I didn't add here. I didn't talk about golf or resorts, okay, or little things like that. Those are real estate too. These are your main property types in commercial real estate. Feel free to take a picture of this, a screenshot, or what have you. Office, retail, industrial and logistics, data centers, healthcare, life sciences, hotels, multifamily, and mixed use. These are all property types. That means that COVID testing center, that was real estate. Those guys cleaned up during the pandemic. Okay. The laboratories that they had to manufacture vaccines and tests out of, those landlords cleaned up during the pandemic. I want to put that out there. Can somebody tell me, now those are not the answer to this question, but can somebody tell me the top 2 performing asset classes in the property types, AKA asset class, you might hear that interchangeably, that performed the best in the pandemic? Out of the options here on the left under property types, which 2 performed the best in the pandemic? Put it in the chat for me. Your guesses. No guesses? Brittany said industrial.
Healthcare.
Healthcare and industrial. Okay. Retail. Okay. Mixed use and multifamily. Good guesses. Good guesses. You guys ready to know the answer? Drum roll, please. Industrial and multifamily. Stephanie, so many people are coming up as you because you shared your direct link. That's why. Same with Lekka. No worries. If your name is not your name, please rename yourself. But industrial and multifamily, why do we think that is? I'm gonna draw some stuff out of you guys right now. Why do we think in the pandemic industrial did so well? Does anybody have any guess?
The increase of online purchasing created a demand for more locations to handle the shipping and logistical issues that those online companies were facing when trying to get products to their customers.
Bingo. Our world changed. We weren't outside shopping. We weren't like chilling at the mall, right? We were out for essentials only. So Amazon and the need for products and shipping and warehouses and factories skyrocketed in every single industry. So not only first of all, let's be very clear, the pandemic didn't necessarily stop spending. If you guys notice, people still spent in the pandemic, right? So the need for goods is still high, but now we're talking about convenience and safety at that. So not only did manufacturers have to manufacture more, which is industrial, but then it had to get stored, then it had to get shipped. Warehouse to warehouse to warehouse to consumer. Industrial went crazy in the pandemic, and it's still doing very, very, very well. So if you guys think about driving around your town and we're thinking about real estate, I'm sure you guys have driven past some industrial parks, some warehouses, the new Amazon fulfillment center over here, or what have you. All that stuff, that's all industrial. Boomed in the pandemic. If you were an industrial broker, you had a hell of a season. Number one. Can somebody tell me now why multifamily was the other top performing asset class?
They were priced out of single family homes and had to have somewhere to stay. So multifamily apartments.
Where's my mouse? You guys, I can't, oh, there we go. They were priced out of single family homes. Yes, that's mostly true. That's only one piece of the puzzle, right? That's one piece of the puzzle, an important one. No capacity guidelines are shut down. I've been hearing a ton of multifamily operators turning to industrial for cash flow. Yes, that's not by coincidence, Nicole. Why do we think multifamily performs so well? So yes, home prices individually or single family home prices increased, right? Because interest rates were so low. So everyone was borrowing money. So because the pricing of housing increased and appreciated so much amid the pandemic, it made it less affordable. So that's true. Apartments, super necessary. Nicole, go ahead.
I was just typing, but work from home, remote work. People were
Mhm.
able to work from wherever they wanted because a lot of businesses had to close down, and they couldn't go into offices because of the pandemic. And so a lot of companies implemented work from home out of necessity, and that is kind of maintained across the board. And now there's at least some type, they're trying to get people back. A lot of people are resisting that because they like that they can move to some place and be in a picturesque area or be in a better cost of living type of, community, and not have to be tied to big cities or downtown or wherever they were working.
Absolutely. That's accurate. Work from home changed the game. It changed the game and how people view and utilize their homes. Thank you for that, Nicole. Spot on. Another thing to think about and to consider is, inflation. As the price for lumber and things increased, right? It became more expensive to build. So investors went after acquisitions versus building. And we know that there in most metros is a demand for housing. There's a shortage for housing, right? So if there's a shortage for housing, everyone needs housing, everyone's working from home, and the price for single family homes is really high. That means the demand for apartments is there, which means what over time? Rents cost more. Just like the prices for single family homes increased over the pandemic, so did rents. Depending on the market, depending on where you lived over the last 2 years, your rent coming in as a new tenant would have increased anywhere from 14 to 35%, depending on your market. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. And so that being said, these owners of this real estate are crushing it. Absolutely crushing it. That being said, if I own multifamily property, am I selling it? Maybe if the price is right. And guess what? They're paying those crazy prices. I don't know if you guys know anything about cap rates, but multifamily in the pandemic was trading at a sub 3 cap in some markets, right? Because people understand that the demand for housing is not going anywhere. People will continue to pay for rent. So we're talking long-term appreciation holds, right? I've heard someone's rent in New York City increased $1,000 at least renewal, so he bought a condo, period. Absolutely. All right, so those are the 2 top performing asset classes in the pandemic. I saw someone say retail, things like that. Retail suffered the most. A lot of restaurants closed, a lot of stores closed. They weren't getting the traffic and they didn't adapt to this online model. So those industries suffered the most as far as owners go. Okay, those are our 2 property types. Let's transition over to the other side of the screen. Industries. Now, this is important. This is really important to understand industries because we can approach commercial real estate in 2 different ways, which I'm going to get to in a second. But not only do we have the property types and the asset classes, but we have the industries that they serve. Okay. All of these industries, which is almost everything in the world, anything that you can think of, has a real estate department or a real estate need in some regard. The churches, they have a real estate need if they're looking to expand or if they're sitting on land that they want to do something with. Target, for example. Target, everybody loves Target. I love Target. They take all my money. They have a real estate need. They have stores all over the world, right? There's a real estate need. They likely have a real estate department and partners that they work with to fulfill those needs. But it's not just the stores, right? It's the management of the real estate. I'm not going to list off all of these industries. You guys can again take a picture of this. But the reason that I make this distinction is because operating in commercial real estate as a commercial real estate professional can happen in two capacities. On the left with property types, this real estate is property driven and encompasses sales and leasing. Does that make sense? And I'll get into this some more, but I want to just make it very clear. When you think about commercial real estate and you're thinking about your property types and working on office space or retail space or multifamily, this real estate is property or asset driven, and there's an emphasis on sales and or leasing. Does that make sense? The other way you can approach commercial real estate, which we don't ever hear about because the big box firms do this and they hold these accounts, is account/client driven with a very consultative approach. Does that make sense? I can go after the asset, the product type, and work on the real estate, the sale and the lease of that specific real estate, or which is the multifamily owner in where Keisha's at in Dallas, Texas, down in Deep Ellum, right? I'm working on this property here, or I can approach the clients that have a real estate need and try to service all of their real estate needs. And this is a big account, big example, i.e. like a Target or a Nike or any, and not even clients that big. It could be your local restaurant chain that's looking to expand, whatever that is. I can approach them and say, hey, let me help you with all of your real estate needs based on their industry. Does that make sense? Okay, making sure that there's a very, very clear distinction. Okay, Victoria, she says, I want to do commercial leasing and consulting, but don't have a commercial real estate license. There's not a special real estate license for commercial. It is the one that you hold. It is all experience driven and understanding your fiduciary duty. When you have
Wait, I did not know that, Kelani.
Yep. Understanding your fiduciary duty. However, when you are licensed, you have an obligation not to practice outside of your area of expertise. How do you create an area of expertise? It's through experience. So if you're not experienced in commercial real estate, do I recommend you just go off and be like, yeah, I could sell your 400 units? Probably not. What I say, you probably need to find the right people to partner with so you can gain the experience. Absolutely. Is there commercial training for commercial? Absolutely. There's training for all of it. I'll get more into that as we continue. Good. Any questions about this? So you can target your clients in two areas. This is property specific for sales and leasing, or this is account or client specific. Either way, both are considered commercial real estate. All right, I'm gonna keep it going. All right, let's talk about these few things and let's unpack this some more. Big box versus boutique. So you saying, okay, I want to work in commercial real estate. I have a real estate license, or maybe you don't have a real estate license, and we'll get to some roles here in a second. But what is the biggest difference between big box versus boutique firm? First of all, what is a big box firm? There are a few firms, in my experience, is at the biggest firm in the world, ranked, I don't know, I think they're Fortune 120 or 122, largest real estate firm in the world. That's where I got my experience in commercial, but as a broker at that. But that's not the only place to work. Other big box firms, which are typically global and have you know, the really high end clientele, right? So it's not just trading the couple units here and there, it's the big institutional clients. So back to the last slide, it's investment sales on really, really big assets and portfolios, or really, really large institutional clients like the Targets of the world, right? That's the big box firm. There's also, and there are a lot of them, right? The one that I worked at is not the only one. There are a good handful of big box firms to choose from. There's also boutique firms, which are smaller, right? Smaller might be your local operation of a group of people that have some commercial experience and saying, okay, hey, we're going to get together. I want to tell you guys the difference between the two, okay? Big box firms, they are very corporate, but there's a ton of support. At big box firms, there's the marketing department, there's the research department, there's your transaction coordinators, there's all of your support that comes with that, right? And this is speaking from a producer. I was in a producer role. The big box firms give you all of the support that you can need. Boutique firms may or may not have all of that support. You might need to wear many hats at a smaller firm. And that comes from not only being the salesperson, but also doing the marketing and everything that comes with all of this. So that being said, you have to pick your poison. Commercial real estate is not easy, and it's not for the faint of heart. Do not ever, I want to make sure that you understand that creating a book of business in a commercial real estate space takes years, and it's expected to take years. So you have to pick where you want to do that, at a big box firm with a lot of support or at a small firm. What's the biggest difference? Typically at big box firms, you're giving away, you know, most of your fee, not giving it away, but you pay your split, right, is much higher because they're providing you so much support. So you might be sharing your commission with the house at 50%, but you have everything that you need, all of the support that we just talked about. Plus, you have the brand recognition of the firm. So if I'm out and I'm shopping and I'm pitching for business, it's like, wait, who are you with? Or, hey, I'm Kelani Blackwell with W.I.R.E, for example. Or, hey, I'm Kelani Blackwell with mom and pop firm, Joe, number 2. And they're like, who are you? What have you done? Not saying that business can't be done that way. Those are just certain obstacles, right? There's also pros and cons to it. Like the hard part about being at big box is that, well, there's a lot. There's a lot. It's hard both ways. So pick your poison. Okay. Pick your poison. The next, any questions about that? Again, if you guys have questions, feel free to stop me. Questions about big box versus boutique? Okay, cool. Producer versus support roles. So this is kind of that next tier. Everything that we've been talking about today, so is more for me from a producer role, but Chrissy said she's an investor. This is important for you, Chrissy, because this is how you identify who you want to solicit help from, right? That's why this is important. So the question, Ahmed, hey, oh my gosh, I'm just now looking at my screen is like so big. Oh my gosh, we got some good folks on this call. Takesha's on here too. Oh yeah, we're turned to, we lit. Oh, we're lit. I love this. Good job, guys. Super excited to see all of you here. Okay, so producer versus support roles. I was a broker. That does not mean that you guys all have to be brokers. We already established that this is a vast industry, right? And being a producer or an investor is not the only way to participate. If you're looking at getting into the commercial world and you don't have parents to take care of you, a trust fund that you're sitting on, or 5 years worth of savings in the bank to live off while you create a book of business as a producer or an investor, you can work in a different role. And so on the last slide, when I gave you the distinction between, the asset types and the industries, like there are full-on teams that tackle this. This is not a single person servicing a Target or a Nike. These are teams of people. There is someone leading the charge. usually, but those teams typically consist of a few roles, and you guys can feel free to write these down. There's your brokers that are out, their job is to go win the business. There are typically a couple of brokers, maybe a junior broker on that team that supports in those efforts. There's typically an analyst who helps with the numbers. They do the numbers stuff. There's typically a researcher. And then there's a transaction manager. I just gave you 5 roles on a single team. I'll run that back. There's your lead broker. There's your junior broker. There's your analyst. There's your researcher. And there's your transaction manager on a producing team. That's just on the brokerage side alone. We're going to say on the left side, right, when we were talking about product types. Now let's go shift our brains back over to the right side where we're talking about industries that you service. If you're servicing your client, they might have another need, right? So say you're targeting your client and they have a need for, they want to expand, and say we're looking to expand into our restaurant into a neighboring market. We want to launch or open 6 restaurants in 2023. Well, what are all of the pieces to that puzzle, right? Not only do you have to source the locations, you have to negotiate the leases. And now we're talking like facility management, we're talking accounting, we're talking labor analytics, things that you would never even think of that fall under consultative real estate in the commercial space, right? So all of this is encompassed in commercial real estate. You have to decide, do I want to be on the sales and leasing side, or do I want to be consultative and help with business needs? And you can play any of the roles on that team. Any of the roles on that team. So in the commercial world, the investment side of things is typically called capital markets or capital market investment sales. Write down capital markets. On the consultative side, this is normally called advisory and transactions. We're advising and helping facilitate transactions. So now if I have a client, let's just say I have a client that's a restaurant owner looking to expand in different markets. I'm licensed in Ohio. They want to put a restaurant in Miami. Can I facilitate that? No, not myself, but I can engage a Miami broker to do that. You see how that's consultative? I'm doing that legwork for them. You can generate fees for that work. Am I making sense? Okay. So you can be the lead person on the team or any of the roles on those teams working in commercial real estate. The difference between commercial real estate and residential real estate is that 9 times out of 10, it's not a part-time gig. Like you got to be willing to make that whole leap and whole jump, especially if you're at a big box firm. They're going to expect you to be full-time in this. If you're at a boutique firm, you can probably hang your license there and do a couple of transactions on the side a year. But even still, that 3 to 5 year time frame of creating a book of business is going to look more like 10 if you're not really exerting the full-time effort to create that book of business. Okay. Questions so far? How are we doing on time? Oh, we're doing great on time. Okay. The last part I want to talk about for this is demographics. All right. We need to understand what the demographics look like in commercial real estate right now. Less than 5% of producers, when I say producers, I'm talking about the brokers or the people responsible for generating the business, are people of color, less than 5%. This industry has been dominated by white men historically. It's just a space that they play in. But we also know that diversity, equity, and inclusion is the hot topic. And if you are a woman of color, a man of color, these big box firms are actually looking for you. They're looking for you. Does that mean you're going to hit the ground running and start off as a broker in a new like maybe not. But can they probably get you in the fold and work you up to something? odds are pretty high. All right. But I want you guys to be prepared at what you're walking into. You're walking into an industry where a lot of the people in the office may or may not look like you. And a lot of people on the other side of the table, your clientele, may or may not look like you. Are you okay with that? Can you navigate in that space? Are you willing to trailblaze in that space and actually like make those relationships to be successful there? Are you willing to help diversify that space? Okay. All right. Any questions so far? How do I get on at a big box firm with no experience? We're going to talk about that in this next slide. Great question, Charlotte. Okay. This is what you need to know. All right. How do you get in? How do you get in? Let's talk about the producer side, because I think most of you producers, this is producers and investors, right? I'm going to start on the right side. Getting into a big box firm. This is all about your network. All about your network. You have to be networked. It has to come with a recommendation. Like people that are producers in big box firms, the brokers, they produce the business. So they get to choose who they work with, who's on their team. There will be a formal requisition that'll go out, people can apply, but typically they know, by the time we open a rec for a spot on our team, we typically know how we want to backfill it already. So you have to have relationships either with that team, with that market leader or that managing director who knows this team here is producing a lot. They're probably going to want to bring on a junior broker in the next 6 months. This team right here, this broker is transitioning to another firm. I need to backfill and bring somebody else in. This team here, their transaction manager just promoted to a junior broker. They need a new transaction manager. So you need to start making relationships with people that understand and can foresee, what's going on in the company, in that market, right? What's a good way to network and get introduced to others that can help me? LinkedIn, girl. LinkedIn is the commercial real estate professional environment. Y'all need to get on LinkedIn, start making connections with other brokers, with other market leaders. I would do research on your top 3 big box firms in your market, add their market leaders on LinkedIn, ask to take them to coffee, whatever. Put the link in the chat. Which link are we talking about? Not sure.
Kelani, let me point out that we've done a lot of work for folks who want to be in commercial real estate, in creating connections and in job placement and in, helping you establish a path forward into breaking into the industry. So I just want to note that if commercial real estate is something that you want to do, we are very strong advocates for getting more women of color, more people of color into the industry, and W.I.R.E is something you should consider being a part of.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. All right, I'm getting off my tangent. Okay, so networking, so events, LinkedIn, also programs and classes to help you get started. There are, depending on what space you want to play in, there are organizations like W.I.R.E, like Crew, like there's ones very specific to like certain industries. For the industrial industry, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I have a list of organizations that I'd be happy to email everyone after this that you can become a part of to further network. But because people already know, teams already know who they want to backfill with, like it's just important that you get on someone's radar. It is not the same as just blindly applying for a job and being like, okay, great. Unless it's like a super entry level support role, which is also okay too. A lot of brokers in this industry, they get on as an analyst or a researcher, and then they promote to other roles and just work their way up in their team, or, move to other teams or whatever. That's also a way. But if that's not what you want to do, if you're a salesperson and you want to be a broker, then you need to be networked with the people leading in your market.
Can I add, Kelani, for the brokers on this call, look inside your current brokerage. There could be trainings and different types of support inside your current brokerage that can introduce you to those different commercial markets. And like Kelani said, maybe even, I don't know what volunteering for them would look like. I know for residential, we let people come in and host open houses for us and just support us in ways that are not related to the actual being a part of the actual team. So just look inside your own brokerages for opportunities and educational support if you're already a licensed broker.
Facts. Absolutely. All right, guys. Brittany, I just joined the Clubhouse room. I don't know if that'll help or not, but I'm there if you need me. Okay, let's keep it pumping. So the next would be to add value. If you go in and you're like, hey, I don't know anything, but I think I just want to do this, no one's going to be compelled to work with you. What have you done to pour into yourself from an educational standpoint? What are you a part of? What groups? What classes have you taken? What do you know about the market, right? All of that's going to be important. And then the last thing is to leverage your diversity. Walk into this thing. Hey, look, you need more women of color in the space. I'm interested. What opportunities are here? And how are you guys, what are your DE&I efforts? What do those look like? How are you supporting women and people of color? What are you willing to do to get them more exposure to your industry, right? Have those very frank conversations. But let's move it back to the left side of the screen. Let's assume that you want to be a producer or an investor. What do you do? These are the tactical things that you need to do. Okay. Commercial real estate, like I told you, is very, very broad. You need to narrow it down. Wholeheartedly, you got to narrow it down. So find your niche. That means I need to identify a product type and a product size. I will use mine, for example. Multifamily is what my emphasis was. And not just any multifamily. Again, we said 5+ units is multifamily. Well, me pitching to an owner that owns 6 units versus an owner that owns 600 units is a very different conversation. And because there's so much housing, imagine how many properties I would have to database to have every property in my market database from 6+ units. It's too much. So I had a meeting and one of my mentors said, no, narrow it down, do 10 to 50 units. I'm like, oh, okay, that's perfect. That's what I did. I narrowed down my product type and my product size. It was multifamily, 10 to 50 units. Next is find your market. You need to know your market. Yes, I will be able to help people anywhere because of my fundamental skills and technical skills, but I can't know everything going on in every market. I'm located in Columbus, Ohio. So it was my job to know what new apartments were being built, what their going rents were, what new things were being built in the city. There was a new hospital being built. So inherently, there's going to be new need for housing for nurses and people. There's a new school being built. There's a new stadium being built. I know what's going on in my market. I know what's going on in my city. I know how much money is being put into my city. I know how rapidly my city is growing. I know how rapidly the rents are increasing. Know your market and be specific. I'm not repping the whole state of Ohio. I am in Columbus, in particular, in the metro. Don't ask me about Dayton. Don't ask me about Akron. Don't ask me about Athens. I'm in Columbus. This is where I'm an expert. Again, I can help you in other places, but this is where I know everything off the top of my head. Like I eat, breathe, and sleep it. Okay, and that leads me to my next point. You need to have a database. Once you identify your product type, the product size, and your market, go to CoStar.com, go to W.I.R.E, go find places, go to your assessor, your county assessor site, pull data for all of the properties that fit in that box for you. And if you're an investor, this is your buy box, part of what your buy box is. Go pull a report, go pull the data for the product type, the product size within the parameters of the market that you're serving. And you put that into your database. You should know what the rents are there. And again, if you're leasing, right, there's like there's investment sales, and then there's also tenant representation. Okay. 2 different things. If we're worried about the sale of the property. Of course, we want to know all of the pertinent information for that. This call could go for hours because there's so much to unpack here. If we're working on the leasing side, same information is pertinent. What's my square footage? How much is the space being leased at per square foot? What are my projected tenant improvements? What are my concessions, right? All of those things, those are pertinent information based on your product type, the size, and your market, whether you're leasing and or selling, right? These points are going to be different based on those things. That's too much to unpack in this conversation, but I think you guys get it. You database that and you maintain that database. And then the next part is you become the expert. You need to know what all of your trending data is. Over the last year over year, have rents increased or have they decreased? Year over year, are one bedrooms being built as quickly as 2 bedrooms are being built? Why or why not? What's the cost of construction or projected projects that are finishing in the next 6 months, right? How quickly are these new apartments being leased up? What's the vacancy rate? How much concessions are owners giving right now because of pandemic, or at this point, layoffs, right? Because everyone's talking about inflation and companies are laying people off. Are sellers having to give concessions at this point? All of the trending data, you need to know it. The recent market sales, market news and opportunities. The reason you have to become this expert, I'm not saying this just to say it. I'm not saying this because it sounds good. I'm saying this because as you put yourself out in this market, all of these owners or landlords or whomever, they need to ask themselves, can I make the best decision about my asset without talking to Stephanie or Keisha or Brittany or Alexis? I have to talk to the expert to know if I'm making the right decision. Are you that expert? And if you're not that expert, become that expert. Does that make sense? You got to know everything about this product type in this market. You have to know everything. And you have to have the relationships with the people that are moving and shaking. That's how you find out about opportunities first. And that's how you know you're really getting somewhere. When an owner picks up the phone and is like, yo, Kelani, hey, I'm thinking about exiting this one because, we've reached our targets. We were slated for a 5-year exit, but we reached our targets in 3. Can you send me the data for X, Y, and Z complexes in my area? Absolutely, because I have that information on hand and I know it. And I can have that conversation right then and there on the phone. Not only, yes, sir, not only can I send you those comparables, but I can also tell you who bought those properties. What? Who's keeping that kind of information? You got to be the expert in order to make yourself valuable in that transaction. Okay. That's why you do it. If you don't know where to start, this is what you do. You find your niche, pick a product size, get specific in your market, create a database, become the expert, create your brand, go make relationships. That is what you do. Any questions? No questions?
There's
Sorry.
something in the chat, Kelani.
Do you need to get the paid membership for Crexy, CoStar, et cetera, to get this info? Yeah. And they're expensive. Unless your firm offers it. So when I was at CBRE, all of again, we're talking about support, right? So all of my memberships, everything, all of the databases, all of the softwares that I needed were paid for. They might not be for you in your position where you're at right now. And that's okay. I think CoStar is probably the most affordable, and even still, it's pretty expensive if you're, working independently. But if you're at a firm, if you're at a commercial firm, they probably have something already worked out. If you're at EXP Commercial, you get CoStar. It's a part of what you get there. Yep. Any questions? I know that was a lot. I know I dumped a lot on you guys. I just hope that you guys understand the vastness of commercial real estate. There's so much you can do.
Can I add something real quick?
Of course.
So you're talking about being an expert in your market and your product type. When I was a commercial broker, I became that. And when people realized that I was an expert in my market and my product type, people would start bringing me deals and bringing their clients to me to work with me because they know I can do the deal better than they could or someone else could. So the more I become an expert, the more other brokers and agents will start bringing you deals to work on as a collaborator or a co-broker or a referral or something to that extent.
That is a fact. That's a fact. And the power of relationship in this business too, like not only are people competing for business, but I mean, the opportunity to work together is insane. So you being that expert is actually one, it's going to drive your peers in the industry to do the same. But I mean, once you're that expert, people have no choice. Even other industry professionals come to you. And that's a good spot to be in. Thank you for making that point. Anybody else? I just gave y'all too much, huh? All right, guys, this is how you can get a hold of me. If any of this information was helpful, please connect with me. First of all, this is a frequent conversation that we have in our community at Women in Real Estate. There's the website, joinwomeninrealestate.com. Right now, there is a promo code that we have going on. If you want to see what this community is about, network with other people looking to get in the industry or navigate how they're operating in the industry, you can use this promo code, which is trial 30. It waives all of your upfront enrollment fees and your first month of membership. It only works for the monthly membership option, but you can become a part of this community and further the conversation. We'd love to see you. You can follow me at Kelani B on all socials. There is my direct email address. I don't normally just put it out there, but if you have any specific questions or would like to connect with me on anything in particular, you can email me directly. Things that I can help you with are W.I.R.E membership. If you have a real estate license, we have a team with the W.I.R.E called the W.I.R.E Collective at EXP. Residential or commercial, you can come be a part of that group. And I am in the residential and commercial lending space, right? I also work with Patty Goodspeed. We're now in the money business. So if you need anything, please feel free to reach out to me. Stephanie, let me know what you need. Crystal says, I'm still deciding if I should join CB or EXP. Crystal, have you had any preliminary conversations at CB? Because hanging your license in the commercial space is not like the residential. Where in the residential space, every brokerage will take you, right? Where do you want to go? We want to get our numbers up. Come hang your license with us. In the big box commercial space, you have to have a niche. You have to have a team. You have to have a purpose. They're not just letting people come and bring their license and saying, okay, cool, go for it. They also don't want to create too much competition in one office, right? They don't want two retail brokers going after the same business all of the time, right? They keep it it's very intentional and very strategic. So just make sure that you know where they want to put you at a big box firm and who they want to put you with, because that team dynamic will make or break your success. So let me know if you need any help, Crystal. Happy to discuss those things with you. All right, guys, I think we're at, I don't even know what time it is, but I think I've got a hard stop. So if there aren't any other questions, Sabrina, I'll give it back to you. Thank you for having me today. I'm super excited to be a part of it.
Kelani, thank you so much. That was so well prepared. I love it. You should speak more instead of always getting other people to speak.
I received that.
Was great. Yeah. Thank you everyone for joining us. If any of you are in Chicago, please reach out to myself or Stephanie. I'm Sabrina Beer on all socials, so you can DM me anywhere, or sabrinabeer@gmail.com. And we can keep you on our email newsletter for upcoming Chicago events, which we'll hopefully have in the fall. And yeah, thanks for joining us.
Have a good day, everyone.